Have you ever felt like your mind was a radio stuck between stations, crackling with static, unable to find a clear signal of peace? You're lying in bed at 3 a.m., heart racing about tomorrow's presentation, next month's bills, or that conversation you had 6 months ago that keeps replaying like a broken record. Your chest feels tight, you're breathing shallow, and you wonder if this anxious feeling will ever truly leave you alone. What if I told you that there's a kind of peace, so profound, so unshakable, that it doesn't depend on your circumstances changing, your problems disappearing, or even your mind finally making sense of everything that worries you? If this resonates with your heart right now, I want you to hit that like button to let me know you're here with me in this moment. And if you're seeking more content about finding spiritual peace and comfort, make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so we can continue this journey together. Drop a comment below and tell me what's been weighing on your heart lately. Sometimes just naming our anxieties in a safe space can begin to lift their power over us. Today, we're diving deep into understanding peace that surpasses all human comprehension, and we'll end with a powerful prayer that you can return to whenever anxiety tries to steal your serenity. So settle in, take a deep breath, and let's discover together what it means to find rest for our restless souls. The phrase, "peace that surpasses understanding," isn't just beautiful poetry. It comes from the Apostle Paul's letter to the Philippians, written from a Roman prison cell. Think about that for a moment. A man chained in darkness, facing an uncertain future, wrote about a peace that transcends human understanding. This wasn't theoretical theology. This was lived experience of something beyond what our minds can grasp. Paul wasn't writing from a comfortable study or peaceful monastery. He was shackled to Roman guards, uncertain whether he would live to see another sunrise, yet his words overflow with a tranquility that defied his circumstances. This divine peace operates on a completely different frequency than human peace. Human peace says, "I'll be calm when everything works out." Divine peace says, "I am held even when nothing makes sense." Human peace requires favorable circumstances. Divine peace creates its own environment of tranquility, regardless of external storms. It's like having an internal sanctuary that remains untouchable, no matter what chaos surrounds you. When we talk about peace that surpasses understanding, we're describing something that defies the logic of our worried minds. It's the inexplicable calm that settles over a mother's heart in the pediatric ICU when doctors deliver uncertain news. It's the strange serenity that floods a person's spirit when they're facing job loss, knowing bills are due, but somehow trusting that provision will come. It's the supernatural stillness that arrives in grief's darkest hour, when loss threatens to overwhelm, but somehow hope remains. This peace doesn't make intellectual sense, and that's exactly what makes it so powerful. Our minds are constantly seeking to understand, to control, to figure everything out. We live in an age of information overload, where we believe that if we just research enough, plan enough, worry enough, we can somehow guarantee positive outcomes. But divine peace invites us into a different way of being. It asks us to trust rather than understand, to surrender rather than control, to rest rather than wrestle. This doesn't mean we become passive or stop taking responsible action. It means we stop carrying burdens that were never ours to bear. The modern world has trained us to believe that anxiety is normal, even necessary. We wear our worry like a badge of honor, thinking it proves we care, that we're responsible, that we're taking life seriously. Social media feeds us a constant stream of things to be anxious about. News cycles profit from our fear. We're told that if we're not worried, we're not paying attention. But what if this entire paradigm is backwards? What if our highest calling isn't to worry well, but to trust deeply? Before we can embrace this supernatural peace, we need to acknowledge the reality of human anxiety without shame or judgment. Anxiety isn't a spiritual failure or a sign of weak faith. It's a deeply human experience that connects us to every person who has ever worried about tomorrow, regretted yesterday, or felt overwhelmed by today. Even Jesus experienced anxiety. In the Garden of Gethsemane, he was so distressed that he sweated drops of blood. He asked God to remove his cup of suffering. Yet even in that moment of profound human anxiety, he surrendered to divine will. Not my will, but yours be done. Our brains are magnificent creations, designed to protect us by anticipating danger and planning for the future. The same neural mechanisms that kept our ancestors alive in genuinely dangerous situations now fire off in response to email overload, social media comparisons, and imagined future scenarios. We find ourselves in a constant state of fight or flight over situations that aren't actually life-threatening but feel that way to our nervous systems. Sometimes these protective mechanisms work over time. We find ourselves catastrophizing about scenarios that may never happen, playing out entire conversations in our minds with people who aren't even present. We replay past conversations, analyzing every word, every pause, every facial expression, wondering what we could have said differently. We carry invisible backpacks filled with everyone else's problems, thinking somehow our worry will solve their struggles. We scroll through social media and absorb the anxieties of hundreds of people we barely know, their fears becoming our fears, their stress adding to our stress. Anxiety often masquerades as care or responsibility. We tell ourselves we're being conscientious parents by worrying constantly about our children's safety, success, and happiness. We convince ourselves that staying awake at night thinking about work problems shows dedication. We believe that carrying the emotional burdens of friends and family members proves our love, but there's a profound difference between healthy concern that leads to appropriate action and anxious rumination that steals our peace without improving anything. Healthy concern says, "This matters, so I'll do what I can and trust God with the rest." Anxiety says, "This might happen, so I'll replay every possible disaster until I'm paralyzed by fear." Indeed, the ancient scriptures are filled with references to anxiety and worry, not because spiritual people don't experience these feelings, but because they're part of the universal human condition. David wrote psalms about his anxious thoughts, crying out to God from caves where he hid from enemies. Martha worried about her preparations and hospitality, while Mary sat peacefully at Jesus' feet. The disciples panicked in the storm, even with Jesus sleeping in their boat, their faith momentarily overwhelmed by fear of drowning. These weren't spiritually immature people. They were real humans dealing with real concerns in the only way they knew how at the time. Jesus understood this human tendency toward anxiety when he delivered his famous sermon about not worrying. "Do not be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow will be anxious for itself. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble." He wasn't dismissing legitimate concerns or telling people to be irresponsible about planning. He was pointing toward a different way of carrying life's burdens. He was inviting them and us into a divine partnership where our finite strength connects with infinite love and wisdom. Modern neuroscience has discovered something remarkable about the human brain and anxiety that validates what spiritual traditions have taught for millennia. When we're caught in cycles of worry and rumination, specific neural pathways become deeply grooved, like water-carving channels in stone over time. The more we travel these pathways of anxious thinking, the more automatic they become. Our brains literally rewire themselves for worry, creating default patterns that anticipate problems and scan for threats even when we're safe. But here's the beautiful truth that gives me chills every time I think about it. Our brains are neuroplastic. New pathways can be created, old patterns can be rewired. The same neural flexibility that allowed anxiety patterns to form can be redirected toward peace, trust, and calm. This isn't just metaphysical wishful thinking, it's measurable, observable, scientific fact that's been documented in thousands of research studies. Prayer and meditation, practices of surrender and trust, actually change our brain structure in measurable ways. They strengthen the prefrontal cortex, the part of our brain responsible for executive function and emotional regulation. They calm the amygdala, our brain's alarm system that triggers fight or flight responses to perceived threats. Regular spiritual practices literally rewire us for peace, creating new neural highways that default to calm rather than chaos. Studies have shown that people who engage in regular contemplative practices have increased gray matter in areas associated with learning, memory, and emotional regulation. Their brains show decreased activity in the default mode network, the area responsible for self-referential thinking and rumination. When we engage in practices of surrender, gratitude, and trust, we're not just hoping for emotional relief. We're participating in our own neurological transformation. We're creating new neural pathways that default to peace rather than panic, to trust rather than terror, to hope rather than despair. But the most profound transformation happens not just in our brains, but in our spirits. When we surrender our anxieties to divine care, we're acknowledging that we're part of something larger than ourselves. We're admitting that our small human perspective isn't the only lens through which our situations can be viewed. We're opening ourselves to wisdom, love, and power that transcend our limited understanding. We're participating in a cosmic collaboration where human effort meets divine grace. This spiritual dimension of peace goes beyond mere stress management or positive thinking. It's about aligning ourselves with the fundamental nature of reality itself, which spiritual traditions across cultures and centuries have described as ultimately loving, ultimately trustworthy, ultimately good. When we resist this alignment, when we insist on carrying burdens alone or controlling outcomes through worry, we create internal friction. But when we surrender into this divine flow, we experience what mystics have called the peace that passes understanding. Learning to release our anxieties isn't a one-time event or a simple decision we make once and forget about. It's a daily practice, sometimes a moment-by-moment choice that requires patience, persistence, and enormous self-compassion. It's like learning to play a musical instrument. At first our fingers stumble over the keys, the melodies sound disjointed, and we wonder if we'll ever create anything beautiful. We feel clumsy and frustrated, comparing our beginners' attempts to the masterful performances we've heard others create. But with consistent practice, something beautiful begins to happen. Muscle memory develops. Our hands begin to know where to go without conscious thought. Beautiful music starts to flow through us, rather than being forced by us. The same is true with the practice of surrender and trust. Initially, releasing our worries feels unnatural, even irresponsible. Our minds grab back onto anxious thoughts like magnets attracting metal. We surrender our fears to God in the morning, only to find ourselves clutching them again by noon. This is completely normal and part of the learning process. The goal isn't to achieve perfect peace instantly, but to gradually retrain our hearts and minds toward trust rather than terror. Each time we notice anxiety rising and choose to surrender rather than spiral, we're building spiritual muscle memory. We're creating new neural pathways. We're participating in our own transformation from anxiety-driven living to peace-centered being. The practice begins with recognition without judgment. When you notice anxiety rising in your body and mind, instead of fighting it or berating yourself for feeling it, simply acknowledge its presence with gentle awareness. I notice I'm feeling anxious about this situation right now. This simple recognition Create space between you and the emotion. You are not your anxiety. You are the observer of your anxiety, the conscious witness of your internal experience. This spacious awareness is where transformation becomes possible. From this place of gentle observation, you can make conscious choices about how to respond, rather than being swept away by automatic reactions. You can choose to breathe deeply instead of holding your breath. You can choose to pray instead of panic. You can choose to surrender instead of struggle. Next comes the sacred act of release, and this is where the magic happens. This isn't about pretending your concerns don't matter or forcing yourself to feel differently than you do. It's not about spiritual bypassing or positive thinking your way out of legitimate worries. It's about consciously choosing to place your worries into hands stronger and wiser than your own. It's about trusting that you are held, guided, and loved, even when you can't see the bigger picture or understand why certain challenges have entered your life. Some people find it helpful to visualize this release process. They imagine gathering all their worries like fallen leaves and placing them in a beautiful box that they then hand over to divine care. Others picture their anxieties as soap bubbles floating away on a gentle breeze, or as birds being released from a cage to soar free in limitless sky. Still others prefer to speak their surrender aloud, literally giving voice to their choice to trust rather than worry. There's no right or wrong way to practice release. The key is finding methods that resonate with your heart and using them consistently. Some days, the release will feel easy and natural. Other days, it will feel forced or impossible, and you'll find yourself taking back your worries minutes after surrendering them. This is all part of the process. Be patient with yourself. Treat yourself with the same compassion you would offer a dear friend who was learning something difficult. There's a beautiful paradox in the spiritual life that becomes apparent as we practice surrender. The more tightly we grip our worries, the more power they have over us, and the less capable we become of taking wise, effective action. The more we release them, the more capacity we have to respond to challenges from a place of clarity rather than chaos. Letting go doesn't make us passive or irresponsible. It makes us more effective because we're operating from a place of inner peace rather than inner turmoil. Think of a river flowing around a boulder in its path. The water doesn't fight the obstacle, doesn't become anxious about its presence, doesn't waste energy trying to move the stone. It simply flows around it, continuing on its path with grace and power, actually becoming more beautiful and interesting because of the obstacle it navigates. This is what divine peace looks like in human form. We don't pretend obstacles don't exist, but we don't let them stop our forward movement or steal our inner tranquility either. When we're caught in anxious spirals, our creative problem-solving abilities literally shut down. Our perspective narrows to worst-case scenarios. Our capacity for joy, gratitude, and meaningful connection diminishes dramatically. We become so focused on potential problems that we miss present blessings. We become so worried about tomorrow that we can't fully inhabit today. But when we operate from a place of surrendered peace, our minds become clear and expansive. We see options and possibilities that were invisible when we were trapped in worry. We receive insights and wisdom that seemed impossible when anxiety clouded our thinking. This doesn't mean that releasing our anxieties will instantly solve all our problems or make challenges disappear. Some difficulties require time, patience, persistent effort, and practical action, but it does mean we face these challenges from a place of inner strength rather than inner turmoil. We become like trees with deep root systems that remain standing and even continue growing during surface storms. Our peace becomes an anchor that holds us steady regardless of external circumstances. Prayer becomes the bridge between our anxious humanity and divine tranquility, the sacred connector that allows us to access peace beyond our natural capacity to create or maintain. It's not about using perfect words, following precise formulas, or demonstrating impressive faith. It's about authentic connection with the source of all peace, genuine relationship with the love that holds the universe together. It's about showing up exactly as you are, messy and worried and imperfect, and trusting that you are welcomed with infinite compassion and understanding. When anxiety grips your heart, prayer becomes your lifeline, not because it's magical or because it guarantees instant relief, but because it connects you to love itself. It reminds you that you are not alone in your struggles, not abandoned to figure everything out by yourself, not left to carry burdens that are too heavy for human shoulders. You are held, guided, cherished, and supported by a love that knows no boundaries, no limitations, no conditions. Prayer also shifts our perspective from horizontal to vertical, from looking around at all our circumstances and finding reasons to worry, to looking up and remembering who is ultimately in control of the larger story. We remember that our individual chapters, however challenging they may be, are being written by hands wiser than our own, that our lives are held within a love story larger than our current difficulties, that there are purposes being worked out that we cannot yet see or understand. Sometimes prayer feels like speaking into silence, especially when anxiety has convinced us that we're truly alone in the universe. But faith teaches us that silence doesn't mean absence, that the most profound presence is sometimes experienced in quietness, in the space between our words, in the peace that settles over our spirits when we stop trying so hard to fix everything ourselves and simply rest in divine care. The beautiful truth about divine peace is that it doesn't depend on our circumstances changing, our problems disappearing, or our minds finally understanding everything that confuses or worries us. This peace exists independent of external conditions. It's available in hospital rooms and unemployment lines, in the midst of divorce proceedings and financial struggles, during sleepless nights with colicky babies and anxious days waiting for test results. There's a subtle but profound difference between seeking peace and living from peace, and understanding this distinction can transform our entire approach to anxiety and worry. When we're seeking peace, we're implying that we don't currently have it, that it's somewhere else, something we need to attain or achieve through the right techniques, perfect prayers, or sufficient spiritual effort. But spiritual truth tells us that peace is our natural state, our divine inheritance, our true identity beneath all the surface turbulence of human experience. Living from peace means remembering who we truly are, even when circumstances suggest otherwise. It means accessing the calm center that exists within us regardless of external storms, drawing from a well of tranquility that never runs dry, even when we temporarily forget it's there. It means recognizing that we are spiritual beings having human experiences rather than merely human beings hoping for spiritual experiences. This doesn't happen overnight, and it certainly doesn't happen through willpower or positive thinking alone. It's a gradual awakening, a slow remembering of our true nature that unfolds over time through consistent practice, countless small surrenders, and moments of grace that surprise us with their timing and power. Some days we'll feel more connected to this peace than others. Some moments we'll access it easily, while others will struggle to find even a trace of it. This is perfectly normal and beautifully human. The path to lasting peace isn't about perfection or achieving some permanent state of unruffled calm. It's about persistence, patience, and enormous self-compassion as we learn to navigate life's inevitable challenges from a place of trust rather than terror. Each time we choose surrender over struggle, trust over control, we're strengthening our connection to divine peace. We're building spiritual muscle memory that will serve us in future storms. We're participating in our own transformation from anxiety-driven living to peace-centered being. When we begin to embody this peace that surpasses understanding, it affects everyone around us in the most beautiful ways. Peace is contagious in the deepest sense. Our calm presence gives others permission to breathe more deeply. Our trust in divine care inspires others to release their own worries. Our serenity creates safe spaces where healing can happen, where authentic connection becomes possible, where others feel free to be themselves without pretense or performance. Children especially are exquisitely sensitive to the energy we carry. They can sense our internal state even when we try to hide it behind smiles and reassuring words. When we operate from anxiety, they absorb that tension in their little bodies and nervous systems, even if they can't articulate what they're feeling. But when we embody peace, they feel safer, more secure, more able to explore the world with natural curiosity and joy. Our inner state of being is one of the greatest gifts we can offer the people we love. This ripple effect extends far beyond our families and close friends. Every interaction we have, every person we encounter in grocery stores and coffee shops and waiting rooms is touched by the energy we bring into shared spaces. When we've done our inner work of surrendering anxiety and embracing peace, we become agents of healing in a world that desperately needs more tranquility, more examples of another way to be human. We become living proof that another approach to life is possible, that people can face uncertainty without losing their center, that challenges don't have to steal our joy or destroy our hope, that worry isn't a required response to life's difficulties. We demonstrate through our very presence that peace is possible even in imperfect circumstances, that trust can coexist with uncertainty, that love is stronger than fear. Now we come to the sacred moment of prayer itself, the holy invitation for divine peace to flood every cell of your being, every corner of your consciousness, every shadow where anxiety has been hiding and making its home. This isn't just words spoken into empty air or positive affirmations we repeat, hoping they'll become true. This is an authentic conversation with the source of all peace, a genuine opening of our hearts to receive what we cannot manufacture through human effort alone. Before we pray together, I want you to prepare your heart with gentle intentionality. If you're able, place your hand on your chest and feel your heartbeat, that steady rhythm that has been with you since before you were born. The constant reminder that you are alive, you are loved, you are held in this very moment by forces greater than yourself. Take 3 deep breaths, allowing each exhale to release any tension you've been carrying in your shoulders, your jaw, your mind. If there are specific anxieties weighing heavily on your mind right now, acknowledge them without judgment or shame. Maybe it's financial stress that keeps you awake at night, wondering how bills will be paid or whether there will be enough for your children's future. Perhaps it's worry about a loved one's health, watching someone you care about suffer and feeling helpless to ease their pain. Maybe it's fear about your own future, uncertainty about career decisions, relationship choices, or life transitions that feel overwhelming. Maybe it's the general overwhelm of modern life with its constant demands, endless to-do lists, and pressure to be everything to everyone. Maybe it's anxiety about world events, climate change, political divisions, or social injustices that feel too big for any individual to address. Maybe it's worry about whether you're a good enough parent, partner, friend, or person, whether you're living up to expectations or fulfilling your purpose. Whatever specific anxieties you're carrying, don't try to push them away or pretend they don't exist. Instead, imagine gathering all these worries in your hands like fallen leaves, acknowledging their weight without letting them define you. You're about to offer them up, to place them into care far greater than your own capacity to carry them. You're about to participate in the sacred exchange where human burden meets divine strength, where finite worry encounters infinite love. Remember, This prayer isn't about saying the right words, having perfect faith, or demonstrating impressive spirituality. It's about honest connection with love itself, authentic relationship with the divine presence that surrounds and fills every moment of existence. It's about allowing yourself to be held, comforted, and filled with peace that your anxious mind cannot manufacture, but your hungry spirit can absolutely receive and embody. As we pray together, feel free to add your own words, your own specific concerns, your own heart's unique cry for peace. Let this prayer be a starting point, an invitation for your own authentic conversation with the sacred. Let it flow through you and beyond you, connecting you with the source of all peace, the foundation of all hope, the love that holds everything together. Divine source of all peace, sacred presence that surrounds and fills every moment of existence, I come before you now, carrying the weight of human worry, the burden of anxious thoughts, the exhaustion that comes from trying to control what lies beyond my power to change. I acknowledge that my mind has become a battlefield where fear and faith wrestle for control, where worst-case scenarios play on repeat, where sleep becomes elusive and joy feels distant. I confess that I have been carrying burdens that were never mine to bear, worrying about outcomes that rest safely in your hands, trying to solve problems that require wisdom far greater than my own limited understanding. I have been living as though everything depends on my efforts alone, as though you are absent from my struggles, as though I must figure out everything myself before I can find peace. I bring to you now every anxious thought that steals my sleep and clouds my days. I offer you every worry that tightens my chest and quickens my breath, every fear that makes my hands shake and my mind race. I place before you every concern about tomorrow that robs me of today's gifts, every regret about yesterday that prevents me from moving forward, every overwhelm about present circumstances that makes me feel like I'm drowning in responsibilities and expectations. If I am worried about my finances, about having enough money for needs and wants, about providing security for those I love, I surrender these concerns to your abundant provision. You know my needs before I voice them, and you care for me with tenderness beyond my ability to comprehend. You clothe the flowers of the field and feed the birds of the air, and I am more valuable to you than many sparrows. Help me trust in your provision even when my bank account feels small and my expenses feel large. If I am anxious about my health or the health of those I cherish, about medical tests and doctor visits, about symptoms that worry me and treatments that feel uncertain, I release these concerns into your healing hands. You are the source of all wholeness, the fountain of all restoration, the power that sustains every heartbeat and every breath. Whether healing comes through medicine or miracles, through treatment or time, I trust that you are present in every aspect of my health journey. If I am carrying worry about my relationships, about conflicts that seem impossible to resolve, about love unexpressed or trust that has been broken, about family members who are struggling or friends who are distant, I offer these tender places to your mending grace. You are the great reconciler, the healer of hearts, the bridge across every divide that seems too wide to cross. Work in ways I cannot see to bring healing, understanding, and restoration where it is needed most. If I am fearful about my future, uncertain about the path ahead, questioning whether I have the strength, wisdom, or resources for what may come, I surrender these unknowns to your perfect guidance. You hold tomorrow in your hands, and you will equip me for every step you ask me to take. You go before me to prepare the way, and behind me to guard my back. You are with me in every valley and on every mountaintop. If I am struggling with regret, replaying conversations and decisions over and over, wishing I could rewrite chapters already written, carrying guilt about mistakes I've made or opportunities I've missed, I place even these painful memories into your transforming love. You waste nothing, redeem everything, and weave even my failures and mistakes into the beautiful tapestry of your purposes. Help me learn from the past without being imprisoned by it. If I am worried about my children, about their safety in a dangerous world, about their choices and friendships and futures, about whether I'm raising them well or failing them in important ways, I surrender these precious souls to your perfect love. You love them even more than I do, and you have good plans for their lives that I cannot fully see or understand. Help me parent from peace rather than panic, from trust rather than terror. If I am anxious about my work, about performance and expectations, about job security or career decisions, about whether I'm making a meaningful contribution or simply going through the motions, I offer these concerns to your guidance. You have gifted me with unique talents and abilities, and you have purposes for my life that extend beyond my ability to see or plan. Help me work with excellence while resting in your approval rather than constantly seeking human validation. If I am carrying the weight of world events, feeling overwhelmed by news of suffering and injustice, by problems that feel too big for any individual to solve, by the darkness that seems to be growing in our world, I surrender even these global concerns to your sovereign care. You are the God of all nations, the Lord of all peoples, the love that ultimately wins over every form of hatred and fear. Use my prayers, my actions, and my resources to be part of your solution while protecting my heart from despair. I acknowledge that my mind cannot comprehend the vastness of your love for me, the depth of your care for every detail of my life, the completeness of your provision for every need I will ever face. My understanding is limited, my perspective small, my wisdom finite. But your peace transcends all these limitations. Your love surpasses every boundary. Your grace covers every gap in my faith and understanding. Fill me now with your peace that surpasses understanding, that peace that doesn't depend on my circumstances being perfect or my problems being solved. Let it flow through every cell of my body, calming my nervous system, slowing my racing heart, deepening my shallow breath. Let your peace penetrate every corner of my mind, quieting the anxious chatter, stilling the worried thoughts, bringing clarity where confusion has reigned, and hope where despair has made its home. Let your peace settle into my spirit like gentle rain on parched ground, like cool water in desert places, like warm sunlight breaking through storm clouds. Restore the garden of my soul with your tranquility. Replace the weeds of worry with flowers of trust. Transform the desert of anxiety into an oasis of serenity where others can come to find rest and refreshment. I choose to trust you with what I cannot understand, to rest in your love when circumstances feel unstable, to believe that you are working all things together for good, even when I cannot trace your hand in my current situation. I choose to live from peace rather than constantly seeking peace, to remember that your tranquility is my natural inheritance, my true identity beneath all surface storms. Guard my heart and mind with your peace that surpasses all understanding. When anxiety rises again, as I know it will in my human experience, remind me of this moment, this prayer, this sacred surrender. Help me return again and again to this place of trust, this posture of release, this position of peace. Create in me new patterns of thinking and feeling that default to trust rather than terror, to hope rather than despair. Teach me to recognize the difference between healthy concern that leads to appropriate action and anxious rumination that steals my peace without solving any problems. Help me care without carrying burdens that belong to you. Show me how to be responsible without trying to control outcomes that are beyond my power to determine. Extend this peace beyond myself to everyone in my sphere of influence. Let my calm presence bring comfort to others who are struggling with their own anxieties and fears. Let my trust inspire faith in those who are learning to surrender their worries. Let my serenity create safe spaces where others can find rest for their own weary souls and healing for their wounded hearts. Use my journey from anxiety to peace as a testimony of your goodness, a demonstration of your faithfulness, a beacon of hope for others walking similar paths of worry and surrender. Make me an ambassador of your tranquility in a world that desperately needs more peace, more examples of trust in the midst of uncertainty, more evidence that another way of living is possible. I thank you that your peace is not dependent on my circumstances changing, my problems disappearing, or my understanding increasing. I thank you that your peace is available right now, in this moment, regardless of what tomorrow may bring or what yesterday contained. I thank you that your love for me is not based on my performance, my faith level, or my ability to stop worrying. I receive your peace now like a gift freely given, not because I've earned it or deserved it, but because you delight in giving good gifts to your children. I embrace your tranquility like a warm blanket on a cold night, like a safe harbor in a violent storm, like coming home after a long journey. I welcome your serenity into every area of my life where anxiety has taken up residence and made itself comfortable. Transform my sleep from restless tossing to peaceful rest. Change my breathing from shallow and rapid to deep and calm. Shift my thoughts from spiraling worry to grounded trust. Replace my clenched fists with open hands, my tight shoulders with relaxed ease, my racing mind with quiet confidence in your care. In the name of all that is sacred, all that is holy, all that is love itself, I seal this prayer with gratitude and trust. May your peace, that surpasses all understanding, guard my heart and mind in every circumstance, through every season, in every challenge and every joy. May I carry this peace with me wherever I go, sharing it freely with everyone I encounter, living as a demonstration that worry is not our only option and anxiety need not be our default setting. And may all who hear these words find their own path to the peace that you freely offer, the rest you lovingly provide, the tranquility that is their divine birthright as your beloved children. May they discover that they are held, cherished, guided, and loved beyond their ability to imagine or understand. Amen. And so it is, and so it shall be. Take a moment now to sit in this peace you've just invited into your being. Notice if something has shifted in your body, your breathing, your spirit. Feel the weight that may have lifted from your shoulders, the calm that may have settled into your chest, the quietness that may have replaced the chatter in your mind. This is the peace that surpasses understanding, beginning its work in your life. Not because of anything you've done to earn it, but because you've opened your heart to receive what was always available to you. Remember, this prayer isn't a magic formula that will eliminate all anxiety forever or guarantee that life will suddenly become easy. It's a sacred practice to return to whenever worry begins to steal your serenity, whenever fear threatens to overwhelm your faith, whenever you need to remember that you are not alone in your struggles. Keep this video bookmarked. Share it with others who might need these words of comfort and hope. Return to it as often as you need, without shame or apology. If this prayer touched your heart, if you experienced even a moment of the peace we asked for together, please let me know in the comments below. Share what specific anxiety you were able to release, or simply write the word peace to let me know you felt some measure of the tranquility that is your birthright as a beloved child of the divine. Your testimony might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to believe that peace is possible for them too. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more content about finding spiritual peace in an anxious world. And ring that notification bell so you'll know whenever new videos are available to support your journey toward greater trust and tranquility. Sometimes the exact words we need arrive at the perfect moment when we stay connected to sources of spiritual nourishment and encouragement. May the peace that surpasses all understanding be your constant companion as you navigate whatever challenges and joys lie ahead. May you walk in tranquility rather than turmoil, rest in trust rather than worry, and live from the unshakable foundation of divine love that holds you securely no matter what storms may come. Until we meet again in this sacred space of prayer and peace, carry these words with you, carry this peace within you, and remember that you are infinitely loved. Be blessed, beloved ones, be at peace, and never forget that worry is not your identity, anxiety is not your destiny, and peace is always available to those who ask, seek, and surrender into the loving arms of the one who holds all things together.